Hαίrε and welcome. Today we are in John chapter 2, starting at verse 10, and well, there's no other verse on this page, so that's as far as we're going to go today. Here is our rubric, everything that we're looking for in this text. Let's go ahead and get started. Kai legei autoi pas anthropos proton ton kalon oinon tithesin kai hotan methustosin ton elaso su tetere kas ton kalon oinon heros arti. There we go. Kai is, of course, a coordinating conjunction connecting this verse to the previous verse. It's always nice to know that they flow together. Lege is a verb that we've seen a gazillion times before. I'm not going to parse it. We should know by now what it is. It's he says, he being the master of the feast, as we know because of the context of the previous verse. Autoi with the sub iota is going to be a dative singular. It's masculine or neuter, but since we have the nymphion right there, we know it's going to be masculine. To him as an indirect object. Entering a direct quote now. We want to find our verb, pas anthropos, nope. Tithesin. Thesin is our ending. It looks pretty weird, but that's because this is a me verb, and me verbs are always annoying. You have to either have them all memorized, good luck with that, or just look it up to figure out what it is. This is a third person singular present, is active and indicative, and it means set, third, sets, puts, or places, all generally the same idea. So we know we need a singular subject, and going back to the beginning, we've got anthropos with the omicron sigma there, nominative, singular, masculine, and then pas is another one of those words that you always have to look up or memorize, and I have this card here to help me. I really should memorize it. We've got pas right there, so nominative masculine, so it matches anthropos. They go together. That's very nice. Since this is singular, we would say every rather than all. Every man. Proton has the same ending as ton, kalon, and oinon. Kalon is, of course, an adjective, and oinon is a noun that we've seen before. Proton could be modifying them, or it could be an adverb, because this is one of those ones that forms adverbs in a different way than usual. The Latin has the exact same thing with its own version of this word. So we want to try it both ways to see which makes sense, but first let's actually parse these. Ton from ho, he, to, and oinon with kalon, they're all accusative singular masculine. At least goes to there. So then we have proton, which means first. So we either have every man places the first good wine, or every man places first the good wine. Now it could, I think, go either way. There might be an accent change between the two of them, but I don't remember. I believe the way that most English translations put it is this as an adverb, not modifying these. And frankly, it doesn't make sense to have this as an adjective. The first good wine, you mean there's a second good wine, but he makes no mention of a second good wine. And I don't think that really fits with their culture. So I'm going to treat this as an adverb, but you are aware of the two translations. And beautiful is another option, of course. Moving on, kai, and then, oh dear, hotan. This alpha nu here with omicron and tau should tell us immediately that we are entering a special type of clause, which means we've got to be very careful with our verb. Looking ahead, we have our verb here, methustosin. This omega here should tell us immediately that something's going on. Either it's an interesting contract, it's a weird participle, or it's going to be subjunctive. This theta should also give us a little bit more information about this. This is methusko, I believe, is the present form. There's no kappa there, but we do have a theta instead. And the only reason we should find a theta in the ending is if we have the aorist passive in form. So we would expect then there to be an eta, but since we have an omega instead, This confirms that it's subjunctive. Aorist, passive, subjunctive. And seen is, of course, third person plural. And this means become drunk, be inebriated, get drunk, something along those lines. But hotan plus the subjunctive, especially in the aorist tense, should cause us to pause and think, what type of subjunctive clause have we got here? Hotan is used with temporal clauses or general clauses about the future. If we have the aorist, then we translate it one way, almost forgot, are drunk, have become drunk. And if we have the present, then we translate this whenever. Yeah, that's what I forgot. Hotan plus aorist is when, verb. Hotan plus present is whenever. So it's the aorist actually governing how we translate this, at least as far as I understand it. Okay, and when they, because this is plural, so it would be referring to the guest, but we don't have a noun for the guest as far as I can see, have become drunk, or they are inebriated, ton elasso. And here we get another word that was, the type of word at least that we don't see very often, and haven't seen very often, I can't remember how many times, but I think 2 or 3 so far. Elasso is from mikros, and it is actually a comparative degree adjective, an irregular one, so that's why it's, what is this in form? But tone, unfortunately, clarifies for us exactly its case. Accusative, singular, masculine, comparative. Bracket those. The inferior. And we should assume a repetition of thesin right there, since we don't have anything, and this doesn't take a direct object. Moving on, su tet erekas, sorry. This is our verb. As is our ending. So that's going to be second person singular. This reduplication here, te, tau, epsilon, tau, eta. And this kappa right here should immediately tell us what tense this is. Perfect. And it is active and indicative. And then that just confirms what we should already have known by looking at su, which is a second person singular pronoun. No gender because they all share the same forms. You have kept ton kalon oinon. We already parsed that up here, so I'm not going to do it again. I forgot to do that though. The good or beautiful wine, heos arti. And we've seen heos in the construction before on the previous page with ano, and that meant until above, up to the brim. And here we have a different word with it, arti, which means now or just now. So we would translate this until now, or if you really want, but I don't see why you would, until just now. Could be, oops, forgot the T, that this has some emphasis behind it, kind of like the eme from earlier had, but that I don't know. That might be in a dictionary. You should go check that out if you're curious. But that is the end of our translation so far. We don't know if the quotation ends here, so we don't have anything of the next verse visible. So I'm going to leave that blank for now and change it in the next video, the next Greek video that is, if necessary. Let's go ahead and look at this in its own context. And he says to him, every man places first the good or beautiful wine, and when they have become drunk, or they are inebriated, the inferior. You have kept the good or beautiful wine until now. And now from verse 1. And on the third day, a wedding happened in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of the Jesus was there. But the Jesus also was invited, and the disciples of him into the wedding. And since wine gave out, The mother of the Jesus says to him, "They do not have wine." And he says to her, the Jesus, "What to me and to you, woman? The hour of me is not yet come." The mother of him says to the helpers, "Whatever he says to you all, do." But there were 6 stone water jars standing, to the purification of the Jews, each holding 2 or 3 measures. The Jesus says to them, "Fill the water jars with water." And they filled them to the brim. And he says to them, "Draw now and carry to Toastmaster." And they carried to the Toastmaster, And just as the master of the feast tasted the water having become wine, and he did not know from where it is, but the helpers knew, those having drawn out the water. The master of the feast calls the groom, and he says to him, "Every man first places the good wine, and when they have become drunk or are inebriated, the inferior. You have kept the good wine until now." And that's as far as we're going to go today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope you have a good day. Farewell. Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other equally sleep-inducing videos for you to watch. Check them out.